George Springer just hit his first home run, major league home run on Thursday. Rougned Odor just got the call from the Rangers. We're still waiting for Oscar Taveras. We're still waiting for Gregory Polanco. But it's that time of year. Guys are getting closer, getting the call. We're starting to see these teams say, hey, Josh Wilson, hey, guess what? He really does suck after all. Maybe we should put someone who's actually got an upside in there. We're failing to score runs. We're starting to see these teams actually put in their prospects now. It's that time of year we kind of start to speculate which guys are going to click, which guys are going to get the call, which guys are going to languish forever. So for me, this is fun. You get to see some turnover. The Angels, C.J. Cron got the call up by them. He's starting to cut into Raul Ibanez's playing time a little bit here and there. I get excited when we see new blood in Major League Baseball.
I didn't know Odor got called up. That just happened in the last hour or so while I was taking a nap?
Yeah, it did. And they cut Josh Wilson got cut, one got cut, and Donnie Murphy went on the DL or vice versa, one or the other. I think Wilson got cut because he's the guy that's been around longer. But point being is the Rangers realized, oh, wait, that 1 week sample where he actually hit doesn't matter. It's really what we can look at his career line and say, oh, yeah, this is what matters. This is what he really is. Oh, okay, so maybe we should try this prospect after all. Even Ron Washington, I think, has no excuse but to play Odor at this point in time.
Wow, I can't believe Odor and Odorizzi are both still in the majors at this time. That's really interesting time to be in baseball.
It's a good time. It's a good time to be a baseball fan,
yeah.
Chris.
But let me ask you this. What happens if Odor hits, like really rakes, looks like he belongs, and then Profar comes back? What do? Option Profar?
Find another place for Profar to play. Have him play the outfield. I mean, Mitch Moreland still stinks, kind of. I don't know. I think they just got sick of waiting. I mean, the thing is, you don't do a drastic move like that with Odor and just say, okay, well, we'll just send you back in 2 weeks. Chances are, if he's raking, they'll find a way to keep him in there because they're just desperate to score runs. I don't know. It's a good question to ask, though.
No, but think about it. They can't put him in the outfield if everyone's healthy. They've got Rios, they got Yu, and they've got Martin in the outfield, right? So you DH, but you can't DH a prospect, especially a defensive whiz or supposed one like Profar.
Yeah.
You know, they have Michael Choice also in the mix, who's also kind of a prospect. Yeah, Moreland's not good, but that doesn't really open up any room for those guys. I mean, you're going to need another Beltre injury, an Andrus injury. Something's got to get shaken up here.
Yeah. Thing is, Odor wasn't killing it at Double-A. He has a 764 OPS. This is down from what he was when he had that trial with them last year. I mean, we're talking 32 games this year, 30 last year, so whatever. But and it's always about age to level. He's doing this as a 20-year-old. Right. Chances are he probably won't kill it, but I think they realize that they're getting killed otherwise. I don't know. It's a good question. It is a good question. Then again, on Washington, I don't know. He seems like he just doesn't like Profar. I don't know. Maybe they'll force a trade one way or another. I mean, Colby Lewis just got rocked. They cut Scott Baker shortly after they called him up, designated him for assignment today, so that experiment's over with. I think they're almost, in a way, they're just grasping at straws trying to right this ship. I mean, the Rockies are just bludgeoning them right now. One more game left in that 4-game series, 2-2. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of, I think they're looking at their situation. They got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that when Profar comes back, he's playing full time. He's really done nothing except get hurt. He didn't do anything to lose the job besides get injured. And they got rid of Kinsler, and they took on Fielder's contract. I mean, obviously they got rid of Kinsler's contract. I mean, they were basically handed the job to Profar. I mean, you would think they would bring him back, but they usually don't bring a legit prospect up just to send him down. But it's going to be interesting if Odor actually hits, and he might in that environment.
Let me throw one other thing at you. Right now, Elvis Andrus' line is 225, 292, 302. Yeah, he's a good defender and he runs, but they're batting him ninth now. Is he such a sacred cow that they can't bench him?
I don't think he should be, but didn't they give him an extension a while back?
Oh, yeah. He's got a hefty-sized contract now. His contract, they gave him one, last year in April 2013, 8 years, $120 million. So,
right. That's
I mean, for better or worse, they're tied into that contract.
And they're just at the beginning of it. I mean, if they were 6 years in to say, okay, we screwed up. They're just starting this contract. So, wow, that's a big contract for a really light hitter. I know, shortstop is important, but still, that's a big contract for a guy, it's a handful of home runs. So I do think he's a sacred cow. Literally, he's a sacred cow.
Probably right. And just for as many good things as John Daniels has done, this seems like a pretty bad gaffe. I don't know. We'll see how that fleshes out. But I really want to see how I want Odor to rake for a couple of weeks, too. just to force this decision. I want to see organizations have to make tough decisions.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it'd be more interesting.
Yeah, especially when it's not my organization. But then again, at least they have options to turn to.
Right.
Look at the Reds, just stinky lineup right now. I mean, with Jay Bruce out, it's Skip Schumacher in there. When they had to go to Boston, play 2 interleague games, and try to conjure up a DH, and their options are Skip Schumacher, Roger Bernardina, and Chris Heisey. 2 of those have to play the field, the other has to DH. How embarrassing is that? You know, if you're a competing organization, you're serious about competing, and these are your options. And I understand Hamilton's hurt and Jay Bruce is hurt, but you don't have any more organizational depth. The Cardinals just spit on that. I mean, they've got so much. They've got depth coming out of their ears, and I've got a little bit of Cardinals envy a little bit here. But when they have a guy go down, they slot in someone like a prospect like Randall Grichuk, and they've still got Piscotty down the minors. They've still got, of course, Taveras. When are they going to call up to Oscar Taveras? He's killing it now in AAA. I think that time's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, it's really weird how a couple of these guys, Gregory Polanco has not gotten called up, and it's not really clear why. Jonathan Singleton has not gotten called up, and I don't know all the Super 2, salary stuff. I know it's usually like early June, but they say that Singleton, after a few weeks, had passed one of the deadlines that counted against service time. Springer apparently needed a couple weeks in the minors to pass his deadline to keep his clock from accelerating. I don't know how all the deadlines work exactly, but I think a lot of these teams, they're just lying. They really, it's like the agents and the Players Association would be very mad if it were established as just an absolute fact that their guy was basically losing money, transferring his money to the team based on them manipulating service time rules. I think it's a very bad thing, and I'm sure the front offices meet and say, we will come up with whatever reason we have to come up with, but we will not, we cannot say the truth, which is, look, it's 2 months, it's half a win, it's saving us $25 million, a win is worth X amount of money, this is how we're calculating. They cannot say that, I don't think, because if they do, then basically, what do you mean it saves us $25 million? It's not like increased energy efficiency of your home when you get insulation. It's not just saving money generally. No, it's saving money that you have to pay your employee, namely your player. It's not an efficiency savings that benefits us all. This is a zero-sum game. They're saving money at the expense of the player. So I think they're very careful about lying and making it, he needs more seasoning. And once in a while, maybe the guy does need more seasoning. And you don't want the fans to think, wow, we just sacrificed a win or half a win or 5% of our chances to make the playoffs because we wanted to save money. But I think that's some of what's going on, right? Because why aren't these guys not up? Why would Singleton be up? Why would Polanco not be up at this point?
Especially Polanco. I mean, with the Astros, you can at least argue, hey, they're not going to contend this year. It's fine. Okay, we're going to save the money. We're going to be flat out and say we are saving the money so that when we do contend, we can spend. That's one thing. With the Pirates, I mean, they were in the playoffs last year. They have an immediate need. Yeah, I almost would say, hey, if you're the Pirates, why don't you just I'd almost be this craven. I would say, okay, if we sell 500 season ticket packages from now in the next week, we'll call it Gregory Polanco right now.
But you can't be honest. You can't do it because you could be honest with the fans and make that deal with them, right? You could say that, but they don't show their books. They don't show their books, right? They don't. How are the fans going to believe they need this money to make this call up? And right. They don't know. None of the books are open. Why would we believe them that they can't just spend the goddamn money anyway and just do it, get it done, get us the most winning team you possibly can in the field too? The player doesn't care about the players' rep, the player association. You're basically saying, you are the best player we have in the organization, but we want to make sure you don't get that extra $20 million by advancing your, arbitration, your whole free agency one more year. We're going to suck that out of your career earnings. Where do you think that savings is coming from? It's from the player's career earnings, right? It's not coming from some efficiency, as I said, like heating your home more efficiently. It's coming from that player. So I think it's a real no-no to even talk about that, right? For the front office.
Well, and you see the news coming out about Polanco, how they offered him the contract, the big 10-year contract, and initial reports were 10 years, $25 million. I've heard somewhere between 50 and 60, but 10 years, that's a lot of earning power. That's a lot of, and it's clearly well below his projected earnings if he's coming to come anywhere close to fulfilling the expectations that he has. But that's a whole matter of exchange of risk. For them to leak that, if it was them that leaked that, that's kind of crazy. But I mean, it shows where their priorities are.
Well, if they leak that, it's probably because fans they figure don't know the difference between 50 mil and two. Then once you start talking that, they're like, oh, he has a great deal on the table. Like he just doesn't want to take it. Whereas like there should really be a website. Maybe there is one that like takes each player, given their comps and their historical stats and their age and what they've done at each level, and project out a major league career arc, and then project out a salary career arc based on that and based on inflation. And then so everybody can evaluate these deals. I'm sure their agents doing this proprietary between the teams and the agents. They all have my guy's worth, his expected return over the next 10 years is 125 million, and that's including the time value of money, and so what would be fair is 83 million right now would be the fair price to give it to him now or something. They have equations like that, right? And obviously they're all biased. I mean, the inputs are based on what you think the guy's career arc is going to be, and inflation's obviously a question mark, and the amount of money coming into baseball. It's all it's not an exact science, but there is a number based on reasonable expected returns that these guys are worth and what they should get up front in exchange, how much they should sacrifice in exchange for the certainty of having this deal. Obviously, any one of these guys could get hurt or anything could happen to them. So, yeah, I mean, I guarantee if they sign the deal, they're up tomorrow, right? So, I mean, the only thing holding them back is this service time issue.
Right. I mean, and we've seen that with the Rays, with Evan Longoria, how he was sent down for 2 weeks, same sort of thing like that. The Astros, they might just not be high on Jonathan Singleton, but I don't know.
I mean, he's crushing AAA, and
you know where I was going with that, though, right?
Bats are a currency, right? I mean, you want to give your guys. Why not give Jonathan Singleton the most amount of at-bats in 2014 to see if he's your guy going forward? Why give
I was just making – Chris, I was just making a bad pun there.
Oh.
That's all.
Oh, okay, I missed it, sorry.
Jonathan Singleton, high, suspension.
Oh, no, right. I knew you were talking about high, but I forgot to associate it with Singleton was my mistake.
Yeah. Okay. Now, he's ready. He's crushing it. He should be up. Yeah. Especially when Jesus Guzman is your first baseman. I mean,
right. There's no reason to hold Jesus Guzman. It's junk. And then what about Andrew Haney? When's he coming up?
That one's trickier because I don't think they're ready to give up on Jacob Turner yet. He's been bad so far, but he's also coming back from an injury. Maybe they want to give him a couple more starts. And Tom Kohler's been very good. But as soon as they're ready to send, I don't know if Turner has options remaining or not. That's one thing I need to check because they don't want to lose the player entirely just to make that room.
Put him in the pen,
Yeah, they could do that. I agree.
And Haney or Heaney, I don't know how you pronounce it. This is a contending team. The Marlins are not they're not the Astros. The Marlins can get a wild card. They can
especially in that division. Yeah,
take themselves seriously.
Yeah, I'm looking up Turner's track record here. This might be he might be out of options. I'm checking this one a little bit deeper here. Because that could be it. But yeah, put him to the bullpen. But the thing is, once you do that, it's hard to bring him back in the rotation. So I see why they're hesitant. But yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you're the Marlins and you have Jacob Turner, who was a one-time prospect who really hasn't done much, and you don't want to lose him because he's got a good arm or you like the pedigree or whatever, who cares if he's hard to stretch out again this year, right? I mean, you're basically keeping him because you want him for the long term, right? If Haney's ready and he looks so dominant in Double-A, and it's very likely that he's a lot better than now, and Turner's a project you need to fix or work on, put him in the bullpen. Who cares if it's a pain to stretch him out? At least you get to keep him. It's like stashing a guy, on your bench or stashing him in your rotation. Sometimes it's just, you need the roster room, but you don't want to use him as one of your frontline guys.
All right. Yeah, I could see that. I kind of agree with you on that, but and you're right. I think that they are kind of a contender too. Look at the Phillies; they're 15 and 17. The Mets, are kind of interesting too. That they've got a lot of young arms that they can move up. They're not terrible. The Braves aren't running away right now, and yeah, this is not a bad time to strike. And then the Nats are still the favorite, but yeah, I think the Marlins are still in play. They need to learn how to win on the road a little bit better, but besides that, they could be pretty. I think I think their offense is going to fall back though. I think a lot of their parts of their offense have been kind of playing over their head. That doesn't mean they shouldn't. That shouldn't be a disqualifier for calling up Haney, but at the same time, I do think generally I expect them to fall back to earth. So
Could be. I mean, I just think that you know, if you're in it, you got to play. And also with pitchers, the Super 2 thing shouldn't even matter, right? Because if your pitcher is healthy enough to matter at the end of his arbitration years, where it actually costs you money, or during arbitration, that's a win, right? I mean, they called up Jose Fernandez, right away. I mean, it's a win if your pitcher succeeds and survives. A hitter, it's kind of like you expect him to survive, so you are really calculating how much money it's going to cost you.
I agree with that. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So those are a few of the prospects we're looking at there. We saw the Angels call up C.J. Cron. There's a handful of others, like the Blue Jays have already called up Marcus Stroman, but they're putting him in the bullpen to start. Who else are you looking at? Are you looking at maybe some of those Red Sox prospects? Their offense still kind of underwhelming so far. 141 runs scored so far in 34 games. Firmly in the middle of the pack in the American League so far in runs scored.
Yeah, I think their offense is not going to get that much better. Mookie Betts I thought he was doing well early, but he's blocked. It was Garen Sashini is a good hitter, but he's kind of like a Wade Boggs. He hits for average and gets on base, but not a big power guy, and they don't like his defense at third base. So I don't know that these guys are getting up anytime soon. I mean, even when Middlebrooks was out, they didn't even think of calling up Sashini. Now, maybe it's because they knew Middlebrooks was only out a couple weeks, and they didn't want to cause a problem by having him hit and not having a decision yet on Middlebrooks what they think of him. But still, it's surprising that it seemed like he didn't even get a shot then when there was an opening. It's not like Middlebrooks is like the established future of their franchise. If Sashini crushed it, maybe they would just say, okay, we're moving on. The outfield, though, is the problem. I mean, Victorino is probably their best guy. You've got like Sizemore, who I'm not really sure that even if the health holds up, that he's really the player that anything resembling the player he was. He was always a guy who didn't hit for a good average, and I don't know if he's ever going to get back the power of the on-base skills. Bradley's kind of a marginal major leaguer. I think Ortiz will come around, but again, like last couple years, he was playing at such a high level, and given his age, there should be some drop off. Napoli, he's okay. I mean, he has power and gets on base, but he strikes out a ton. He's never going to be an elite first baseman. And you like Pedroia, but Pedroia again is a second baseman, may hit 15 home runs.
Right.
And Bogarts is a nice rookie, but he's not at his peak. So it's not a very stacked lineup when you look at it.
No.
I mean, Ortiz and Pedroia are probably the best hitters, and they're good. But it's not like looking down the Dodgers lineup, when you're facing them, or the healthy Nationals lineup, or even the Yankees lineup, with McCann and Beltran and some of those guys. Although those guys are really struggling too.
Who would be really good in that Red Sox lineup right now? Jacoby Ellsbury. He'd be pretty good.
He would help. That would have helped, sure.
But that's
the Pirates rotation. AJ Burnett.
Yeah, well, at least the Pirates handled that situation right. Oh wait, never mind. Yeah. Ridiculous. I mean, it's a good thing I'm not a Pirates fan, because I'd be irate at how they handled the offseason. Just irate. Oh wait, the Reds are just as bad as how they handled their offseason. So yeah, I'm still irate. But I don't know. The Pirates are 14-20 now, Chris. And it's getting close to be. It's not too late for them to kind of turn it around, but it's not like they can wait much longer. They should be calling up Polanco today.
Yeah, they need all the help they can get. I mean, look, Liriano being kind of banged up and not very effective, that's a real problem.
Seen that coming.
Lose Burnett.
Floored by that. Floored that Liriano's banged up and not quite the same pitcher. Stunned.
I liked him this year, I have to admit. I thought in that environment, he'd had some injury stuff, but he was strong all the way through last year, and I thought he was going to be good. So I don't have him really, except in the keeper league, which is lucky. I was kind of on him. I guess a lot of people were on him because I didn't get him. Garrett Cole has been okay. I think there's better things to come this year. Even this year, I'm not saying way in the future. I think the velocity's fine. Everything's good with him. He just, he's a young pitcher, had some success, had a whole offseason. He's got to probably recalibrate it again. Maybe more than a veteran would, but I think he's going to have some monster stretches this year, and he'll carry them to an extent. Charlie Morton's okay. They get a lot out of their kind of scrubby starters, but man, losing Burnett and having Liriano fall apart, that's two major pieces. And then when the offense is struggling, it's just not, it's tough. And you're in a division with the Cardinals, in a division with the newly good Brewers, so it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and they lost Jameson Taillon for the year too, so they don't have that projected midseason bump that they were expecting. That hurts a lot. All right, of these prospects, who makes the biggest impact this season? Polanco, Tavares, Taijuan Walker, or wild card, fill in the blank. Noah Syndergaard. Anyone else you want to throw in there?
I mean, I think Polanco and Tavares are the favorites, right? To make.
Yeah, I would say so.
And then Haney, I think, is actually kind of the dark horse. Archie Bradley's hurt. I think he's kind of toast for doing anything this year that's going to really move the needle, especially on that horrible team. Talk about a disaster, the Diamondbacks. Holy crap.
Yeah, another team that expected to contend, no less.
What a joke. But, I mean, they are stupid. The Trumbo acquisition for Eaton and Skaggs, I mean, that's just horrendous. That's horrific. In the NL, what a horrible decision. But I mean, luckily Eaton's hurt already, and maybe that won't kill him. But Trumbo is just such a flat tire for an NL team where you can't DH.
Where first base is clearly not available anytime in the near future.
Yeah, and he's not even that great as a DH. You know what I mean? His OPS is sub 800 usually. His on base is terrible. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the question: would you take Polanco, Tavares, and say Haney or whoever your number 3 is? I don't know who the number 3 is, or the field right now to be the best to have the best prospect, the most impactful.
To be the best prospect, or to have the best season this year?
Best fantasy season this year, not career, just this year.
I take the field still.
You would, just between Syndergaard and who knows, right? I mean, just people coming up, Profar coming back, or somebody.
I don't think these guys are on the same level as Bryce Harper, Mike Trout coming up, especially Harper, who is that way before he was ever even drafted. These guys are awesome prospects, but I don't. You never know. I mean, the Cardinals, they still have to figure out the playing time. It could work a lot of different ways. So I'll take the field.
Yeah, I probably would too. I mean, you think about guys like Anthony Rizzo, who's starting to hit this year, really, come around. Eric Hosmer's had a good couple of years. He doesn't have hit for power, but he's hitting for average again this year. And those were pretty darn good prospects, right? Those are the Polanco level. Those are some pretty high-level prospects, right? And they're good players, and they may, have really good careers. But, the Trout-Harper thing is just not the norm, where they come in right away, 19, 20 years old. That's, so rare. One thing I like, actually, about Springer, who just hit the home run today, is that he's 24, right? It makes him kind of a less valuable property for his team and long-term. But for right now, I'd kind of rather have a 24-year-old than a 22.
Yeah, he's more likely to be ready to contribute right away. Absolutely. There's also, that's why sometimes you see like that 26-year-old guy that gets called up. Well, he has a low ceiling, but he might have a 3-year run where he's really valuable, and then okay, fine. I'm not even maybe not quite. I was thinking Daniel Nava as an example, but obviously that didn't last very long, so that's a bad example. But that you get the kind of gist of it there. Sometimes the lower ceiling prospect that at least he's got the playing time right now and is a lot more likely to sustain it for this season. So, I agree with you on that one.
Well, I think the sweet spot's about 24 because 26 you're already you're not that great of a player, right? Yeah. And 22 or 21 you may be great, but you're not there yet. But 24 you're still a legitimately good prospect, and you're also more mature. I mean, it's like it's like a sweet spot in a way. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done any real research on this. It may be just the case that if you're 21, you get full-time playing time, that you're so good that your prospects are just as good. But I do like that Springer's 24, and I think that he got over this really bad hump, I think, of just coming up and failing. And I think that's also good. They stuck with him. All they did was move him down the lineup a couple spots, and he's starting to hit again.
Right, exactly. By the way, I think the Rangers also called up Luis Sardinas, who's actually a prospect of note too, in this whole shuffle here of guys. So, in fact, they did call up Sardinas. Sardinas might be more ready now. He actually has had 3 major league games of experience, although he's not hitting. Never mind, I lied. Go with Odor over Sardinas. Don't listen to me. But he was in our top 100 prospects. That's the only reason I looked at it. I was like, oh, that caught my eye. But it's interesting that they're kind of making these bold, aggressive moves. More teams need to start doing that, and I think you won't be surprised if we start seeing that anyways. Good stuff, Chris. Looking forward to seeing these next prospects that we can break down. Go back and go to sleep again.
All right, man, I will.
All right, thanks for watching RotoWire TV. We'll be back next week.